Hi, I'm Colleen Pearl the Cool Crone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is the January Tarotscope for the sign of Aries. Okay, Aries, this is going to be your January Tarotscope for 2022. And I've laid out the cards. We're using the Gilded Tarot. I'm sorry I don't have the box anymore. And we're also using the Elemental Oracle and the Queen of the Moon Oracle, both by Stacey DeMarco. I still have a bad thumb, so you're going to see that thumb every once in a while. I did put on a nice clean band-aid for you, and let's get going. So this is week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and 2 oracle cards. And starting with week 1, we have the Empress. So this indicates, Aries, that you are the person in charge of healing. You're in charge of taking care of everyone and making sure that the world goes round for your little group. This could be your family, this could be people at work, this could be friends, your circle of friends, but you're the person who is in charge of making sure that everyone is able to participate and able to be a part of things. Then we have the Ten of Wands. So in this first week of January, your ability to help people and to keep your group intact will feel like a burden, and you will have more work to do than usual. Because of this, we bring in the third card now. Because of this, you will feel kind of trapped. So the first week in January is going to feel not overwhelming, but just a lot of work, and it's going to feel like you're really trapped. But it is a cage of your own making, so don't cry too hard. And you're not going to have much time to cry at all, Aries, because you're going to be terribly busy with all of this stuff and seeing to the needs of everybody around you, in addition to just a ton of work. In the second week of January, you're going to think that you're ready to reap your harvest, but it isn't quite time yet. One of the things about the Seven of Pentacles is that the woman is looking at her tree and thinking that she can pick all of her fruit, but she can't. It's not quite time yet. And one of the things that we learn as gardeners and just people in general is that you can't hurry these things. Things that need to come to maturation will come to it in their own time. The planets move in their cycle. Plants bear fruit and flowers in their cycle. People come to certain decisions and take actions in their own time. So you can't really rush things. That's not going to make it work for you. And because of that, you're feeling a little bit like you're out in the cold, like you don't have enough in order to go on. You know, there are shortages of some things. I noticed just going to the store and trying to get groceries that there are certain items that I just couldn't get. I couldn't get bananas. You know, they just didn't have any bananas right now. I could only get one bag of my favorite crouton. I mean, these are first world problems. They're not the end of the world kind of problems. I still had plenty of food in my basket to come home and cook. And you might want to look at your situation as well and see if you aren't expecting a little too much from your situation. Could be that you're not. It could be that you're truly experiencing some sort of hardship. And in that case, you're going to have to be resourceful and work your way around it. And in fact, that's what you're going to really do. The Fool says that you're going to start a new project, a new journey, either on your own or with other people, but one that you haven't thought about terribly long, and one that other people may see as foolish, as not really the right thing to be doing right now. But it feels right to you, Aries. And very often this card is equated to Aries because it's the first card in the tarot deck, just like you're the first sign in the zodiac. I would say that you should check things out as thoroughly as you possibly can. Then again, if this is something that you're really being called to do, then maybe you need to go do it. And the third week of January starts out with the Ten of Pentacles. So I guess that harvest finally came in, and you're not so needy at the moment, but you're going to be putting some of this away for a rainy day. The Ten of Pentacles is a legacy card. It speaks to leaving behind something from all of the worldly goods that you've accumulated in your life. So even if you're not at the stage of life that you're ready to retire, even if you're a younger person, you probably should be looking at putting something away for at least for a rainy day, if not for retirement. And then we have the Hermit. So first we had the Fool, and first we had the Empress, and then we had the Fool, and now we have the Hermit. So what does all this mean? This means that you're kind of bouncing around a little bit, Aries. You do need to ground yourself and figure out what it is that you're really trying to get. Now, later on, we have another major arcana in the reading, and I'll get to that in a minute. But right now, in the third week of January, you need to be a little more sensible. So I'm going to say that this probably is a foolish project, and you're probably going to backtrack on your plans to actually take it under advisement. And I think what you're going to do instead is in the third week is you're going to rework your plans. And also in the third week is when Mercury is going to go retrograde. So that's another reason that I don't think the Fool's journey is actually going to start at the end of the second week, because that's exactly when Mercury goes retrograde, January 14th. So I'm going to say for you, Aries, that you probably want to take a step back, do some meditation, do some prayer, do some contemplation, and really figure out what it is that you want and where you want to go. And I think it's possible that the harvest that you brought in was even bigger than you expected. Here you were in the second week feeling like you didn't have enough, and then when the harvest, because you were waiting for the harvest, and then once the harvest came in, maybe you have more than enough, more than you even expected. And at the end of the third week, we come to the King of Swords. Now, the King of Swords can be a very cold king, but a fair king, and a very wise king. His sword looks like it's ceremonial, but it's not. He uses his words as weapons. So when the King of Swords is there, he's telling you something. He's giving you a message, and the message is probably to slow down and, cool your jets a little bit, Aries. You do have a tendency to be impulsive, so I'm not surprised that you got the Fool. But now that we're going to be in Mercury retrograde, you do really need to be much more considered about your actions. P.S. I did do a whole video series about Mercury retrogrades, and I covered all the air sign Mercuries, which is what we're in now, Mercury Aquarius retrograde. So you might want to check that out. But the King of Swords is telling you to be a little careful, be a little more circumspect, take your time, measure your words, don't be a fool. Now in the fourth week, we start out with the Justice card. So here's another major arcana, and this one is telling you to be aware of what's right and wrong, and in regards to your own actions. So if your actions are right and you're not hurting anybody, then great, then that's good. Then the second question to ask is, where is it taking me? Where do I want to go? Where do I need to go? What do I need to do to get there? And during Mercury retrograde, it's an excellent time for you to examine those things. Creativity is an excellent activity for Mercury retrograde periods, because it will help you arrive at decisions without really sort of hitting the hammer over and over again in the same spot. So one of the things that happens in Mercury retrograde is we kind of spin our wheels. We think of things, we think they'll be great to do, then we start to try doing them, and Mercury retrograde just won't let it happen. So a better use of your time and energy is to think of the thing, right? And then sit down and be creative with it. Draw a picture of it, turn it into a song, make it into a dance, or just, write, draft, brainstorm on that idea, and see if your creativity can unloose the real essence of what it is that you're trying to do that's going to make you happy. So Justice is saying, yeah, I don't think that none of the other cards that are coming up, Aries, are saying that you're in some sort of court case. So I don't think it's about that. But if you are in a court case, the Justice card appearing in your reading means that you will prevail, that things will work out in your favor. But in the last week of January, we get the Justice card and then the Five of Cups. So something is lost here. Something emotional is lost. Maybe a relationship is lost. Maybe somebody passes away. Something is not really happening that's great, and it's making you sad here in this last week. And the final card is the card for grief, the Three of Swords. So I do think it's probably somebody either passing away or a relationship ending. And it might not be your primary relationship. In fact, it probably isn't your primary relationship, because none of the other cards in this reading have been talking about a relationship at all. But it could be that someone close to you gets sick and dies suddenly, or it could be that somebody has to move away. It's not necessarily a death, but a separation. But nonetheless, you may mourn it. And so January for you, Aries, I'm afraid is not really a happy-go-lucky month. There's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of burden. There's a feeling of loss here. We get the Mercury retrograde. You do get a good harvest in the middle of it, but then you really need to contemplate and think about your actions and see what's going on, and it ends up that you do have a loss of some kind at the end of the month. So let's look at our oracle cards. The first oracle card that we're looking at is from the Queen of the Moon oracle, and it says self-love. Self-love means exactly what is indicated on the card. You need to practice self-love. You need to identify for yourself where people have told you you were less than or too much of. You're too tall, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too greedy. You need to take care of yourself. You're an adult. Do your meditations and address the issue that is making you feel not good enough. And then cure that. Love yourself for that thing. So what if you're too thin? Love that. Love your quirky, skinny body. That's awesome. Or if you're too short, love that. Love that about yourself. Practice self-love, Aries. That's going to be really important for you. Now, the next card is from the Elemental Oracle card deck, and it's Ice, Purity. And so I think this goes back to the dilemma that you find yourself in, going from the Fool to the Hermit. Thinking that you have to start off on a journey and then realizing that no, I have to stay home and meditate. So I'm going to just read a little bit of what they say about ice and purity, because I think that will help us all understand it a little bit better. It says, the way forward is clear. See nature in its purity. Let it comfort you and strip away what is unnecessary. Freeze out what is not of benefit to you at this time. When you look at things clearly, there will be a purity to the solution. So this goes back to something else that I said in the reading, that if you infuse your meditations and your brainstorming with creativity during the Mercury retrograde, that a solution will bubble up, that you will you will distill down your creative endeavor to its essence, and that will allow you to understand where to go from here. Also, the idea of self-love, that you are good enough, your ideas are good enough, everything that you're thinking about is good enough, everything that you are is good enough. So you've got self-love, you've got ice. These are ideas of being your authentic self, of stripping away what does not serve you and going with that. So that's the reading that I have for you for January, Aries. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was meaningful to you. Please leave me a comment down below. Please sure to like, share, and subscribe. I do appreciate all of you subscribers who comment and give me feedback all the time. It's so important for the channel, and it really means a lot to me. Thank you so much, Aries. Have a wonderful January, and I'll see you next time.